Hey everybody, welcome to episode 130 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again, I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben. BT, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. I'm here this week. Sorry about that.
Do you hear any rumours about why you weren't here?
No, there are rumours.
Good. Right. Moving on. We're also joined by Ian Triple Power Triple O and Miltonio Banderas. How you guys doing? All right.
All good, thanks.
Yeah, doing good here. Thanks, Ben.
Good stuff. Milton, did all your tips and tricks for surviving the clink pay off for Ben? Do you think?
Oh yeah, I think he's obviously made it out all right. Although he is carrying a knife.
Yeah,
So he's learned a few things.
we have the same tattoos now, Milton.
Yeah.
Just the necromunda spiders now. Right, wicked. So what we're going to do today is we're going to carry on a bit of the conversation that we had last week. So I always say last week. Last time we talked about a ton of stuff, particularly tiers, and we started going off a merry little road based on, is winning always the right thing to do in Blood Bowl? And then we thought, well, you know what, because we've got Trips on here and because Trips has touched all of our dice, so we're all kind of in the dice clink.
In the cursed city.
The cursed city. No, you're not allowed to mention that. The game does not exist, the cursed game. What a disappointment. Anyway, we were talking about just, is it beneficial to roll ones on purpose? But we're actually going to expand why. And we'll probably talk Blood Bowl news as well. Okay, so Blood Bowl news. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are still waiting on some kind of Blood Bowl release before Christmas. We're recording this on the 6th of December, which means how many opportunities have we got left for a splash?
That was it. That was it. Wasn't it? I think we discussed it last time. That was the last. Was it this weekend gone, or is it the next weekend? No, it would have been the second, wouldn't it, for them to show it, to release it on the 9th. Out before Christmas.
Yeah, they're not going to release something on the 23rd of December, are they?
I'm not sure hobby shops would thank them for that.
That would be, well, yeah. I mean, we were just talking before we started recording, were we, about friendly local gaming stores struggling to get supplies. Do you see the post from the Outpost regarding Legions Imperialis?
They got shafted, didn't they?
Yeah, something went wrong, and they didn't get as many copies of the game as they were promised. Now, we've seen this before, where certain online distributors have just over-egged what they can sell. And because I feel like we talked to Pete about this at Entoyment. He was like, they say we can give us 50, and then we go, cool, can we have 50 more? And they say, we'll see what we can do. And then the shop goes and puts 100 out there, and then they only send them 70 because that's all, and because that's not what Entoyment do. Entoyment are like, right, can you send me 50? Yes. Okay. Can you send me 60? Yes. Can you send me 70? We'll see. Okay. Send me 60, and I will sell 60. And that's why Rick's got his copy and Craig hasn't got his. And that's, really interesting. I'm glad I didn't pick it up for now.
Yeah.
The
you've gotten past that urge. I see.
I printed 20 Lehman Rosses. I'd primed them and then binned them. So I kind of got it out of my system.
Oh, well, okay.
Wow.
There was a good reason. I wasn't until I primed them and did a dry brush that I realised that I'd suffered shift on one of the lower levels. So every single tank, like the back of it, like 5 mil up, was out, and it had some striations.
Oh, that's annoying.
On it. And I was like, oh, that's annoying, because I did the first one and I was like, oh, that's annoying, never mind. And then the next one, and then the next one, and I was like, well, you know what, I'm done now. I've printed some, that's fine.
It's probably good though. That pre-order window is always super dangerous. Like, I think that's when hype is like there. I usually try now to wait till it release and just buy it if I can, and then if not, you kind of have a lot of money back. So
do you guys follow Tabletop Tactics at all?
No.
Like somewhat, not
Yeah.
religiously. Yeah.
I'm on their backstage because I wanted to see what it was all about, and they had Rogue Hobbies on. They had Louise Sugden on, and it was really, really good podcast. They did one podcast for everyone, and then another podcast just for their backstage people. And I was listening to it, and they were talking about content creators, like influencers, like the project within Games Workshop, and like for content creators getting products earlier and earlier. Now we're not in that, which is why we can kind of share information as soon as someone else shares it. We can just go absolutely ham on all the content, and we, sneak a copy a couple of days early sometimes, and which I'm sure is perfectly fine. But that's how we do it. So we're not in the content creator platform. But they were talking about it, and it was very much along the lines of like, all the content creators get it all so early that it potentially just kind of kills the FOMO. Like, it kind of kills the hype, and I'm kind of intrigued to think what you guys think about that.
Well, I agree, because you seem to get on the sort of the day of preview or the day of release a massive load of content from everyone about it. And I'd much rather have that spread out over a few days, to which I might actually get excited by it. But when it was sort of splashed in your face like that, it's like, I don't want to see 20 different people paint the same set of miniatures.
It tends to be on day of pre-order now. I feel like it used to be a little bit late. I feel like it used to be like the Saturday of release day. Yeah. They shared all the information, but now it's pre-order day, and it's been really interesting because I always go to Guerrilla Miniatures Games because Ash, I just like the way Ash does stuff, and it has genuinely, I think, had a negative effect on me. Just kind of like YOLO purchasing stuff from Games Workshop, because I'm like, oh, this is exciting, and then the video goes up, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is fine. Like, I've watched Ash read the book now, and now my impetus to get the book and read it myself is kind of gone, because he's answered all the questions that I was curious about, and I'm like, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, it's almost like, imagine if you had like with a video game, and like you could watch like long playthroughs of the video game before the game came out. Like, you kind of get that content and experience beforehand. Like, so very few people would get it, and I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's a different niche. Like, I think if the product is good, people will buy it, and I'm not sure how much of an impact it has.
That is incredibly true, actually, Ben.
So in the case of Legion Imperialis, though, like, is it fair to assume that the core player base, like the people that have been playing like the game as was, or like had the miniatures for that scale or whatever for a long time, probably have a lot of that stuff already? Is it just the rule set that they care about? And this is something that we kind of experienced a little bit with the Vampire release. Now, how many third parties kind of made Vampire teams? And the real thing that I cared about was the rules and how they were going to impact the game. That's literally like the major thing. The team was exciting, don't get me wrong, but like there were so many other options. And so I guess it really depends on the game system. I mean, I've completely phased out of interest in any of the other core Games Workshop game systems. I'm just not with it at the moment. That might come back around. I'm certainly not writing any of them off because I like them. I like the settings and everything. But, I think it was the 40K box set that came out not too long ago with the Tyranids and the Marines in it.
Leviathan, yeah.
The Leviathan. Now, like, Tyranids were my first 40K passion, and I had so many Tyranids, and I just love the Tyranid minis. I just think they're such cool things. And I like Space Marines too. I've got some Space Marines. When that box came out, I was just like, all right. Yeah, whatever. And you're right, Trips. Like in the run up to it, there was so much. It was just like a dump of like everyone had it. And in fact, the only person that caught my interest with it at all was Ninjon, who like scratch built some horrifying like mixed.
That was a crime. That's why. It was because you were watching a crime. It's like, so I took this whole box and thought, nah, really don't want to do this.
One miniature.
So I glued it all together.
But like I can understand why he did that, because like sometimes he like swings his camera around and all the stuff that he's been sent from various different places, but I think like a majority of it from Games Workshop, and there's just piles of it.
Yeah.
There's no way anyone in their like a million years is ever going to get through all of that. And so
Do we think Imperialis was worse because I think a lot of people had it for a while because there was clearly something going on with delay in the release, and also it's on a smaller scale, so everyone could blast through it and paint it a lot quicker than like the Indominus box, which is probably on every content creator's shelf still.
well, and this is where coming back around to what I first said is like the people that are interested in the game and that have been playing the old rule set or the custom Taylor rule set or whatever, are they fussed about it?
There's two camps for that, definitely, because the scale is different. So the scale being different is a bit like the Blood Bowl scale shift from pre-2016 to 2016, where it's like you can use the old models, but they're just worse.
Yeah, and we all had Blood Bowl, and we would all buy into a new set. If a new starter set came out, we'd all buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's just because we might not be into it. Like,
Yeah.
Like we don't play
Possible.
those games. Like if I played 40k lots, I probably would be all over the new releases and stuff, but I just don't. So it's just like I know that I just won't have time for it. But like my equivalent, I could say is Conquest, where I really do play that and I'm into that a lot. Whenever they have new releases, I'm all over it. Like they've got these new werewolves coming out, they're sick, and just like I'm immediately going to get those. So I'm really excited for it.
Which faction are the werewolves for?
Nords.
Oh, cool.
They're called Werewargs. They got a Vargir Lord who basically is just like a big Varag. No, not Varag.
Wow.
Cheney.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's cool. And yeah, no, it's just like that. And that's like, I'm really into that. And there's not many content creators doing Conquest stuff, but every time there is, I'm just like, getting in on that. And yeah, so that's my take on it.
What you guys said a minute ago about like video games, I think it was you, Ben. I actually go through this every 3 months with Magic the Gathering. Normally, I would, when a new set would come out, I would either persuade the club, like local club, to have a booster draft, which we did with Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
Trips, so gutted you couldn't make that. That was my Barad-dûr Orc deck would have ruffle stomped you. It would have been magnificent. I had a great time. I had an unnecessarily good time. Or I'll jump on Arena, and when it goes live, I will play a few drafts and just enjoy the format. This time, they may have done it before. I have not paid any attention, but this time LSV and some of the other guys got early access, so they had like the weekend was streamers streaming the format, and I got to watch LSV do a few drafts, and that just ticked the box for me. Like that was just like, oh, cool. All right, I've experienced this format now. And I wonder if it links into this, because we've talked about this before. Like, wargaming is very rarely about, not Blood Bowl. This is my Blood Bowl special, but wargaming is very rarely about playing the game. It's about all the options you've got to possibly play the game. It's you're buying the opportunity, and I feel like that having the models and experiencing the game for me hits the same itch. In a way where I'm like, I want to get that, and then I buy it, and then maybe I build it, or maybe I've bought it and it just stays sealed. But recently, like seeing stream reviews and all this kind of stuff, has kind of made me go, oh yeah, that is cool. But after seeing it this many times, it's kind of old hat now. But that never really happens for Blood Bowl, and it's really interesting because Milton, I mean, Ben, you're probably right, because we're into Blood Bowl, right? But Milt, you were saying about like the rules, and I think this is something this is why Blood Bowl is such a very different war game. Like I feel like it's halfway between a TCG and a war game. Fortunately, it's not collectible. He says having 4,000 teams, but you've got you
tell that to my dice, Ben.
Well, yeah, exactly. You've kind of, because it's like small sets. It's like I buy this and that's it, and I can have multiples, and it's just that weird kind of middle ground where once you've got the rules inspire you, and because the buy-in is so low, you're like, oh, actually, I'll pick up that team. It's only going to be 50 quid for everything, and actually,
I honestly think that's all of it.
Yeah,
I think that's all of it. I think it's the buy-in. Like, I just think it's like, rules be damned. I think it's the fact that a new team is 30 quid and that's it. Bam, done. Like 40k releases, Legionis Imperialis is what, like 120? And like that's a lot of money to think about and decide, but a quarter of that for something which you are honestly more likely to play.
Opportunity cost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so much easier to just buy into that. And same with TCGs, like a booster draft between a lot of friends is not a lot of money. But then to buy like to buy like a full pack to make a new deck for a new set is a lot of money.
Big investment.
And that's where you
That said, when it comes to Age of Sigmar, if they ever do boarding actions for Age of Sigmar, that'll be the point at which I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have 500 points there. that would sell me. That would sell.
You said that about Warcry, Ben. We need to play that more. And Necro.
Yeah, Munda's interesting. The amount of terrain required for Munda excites me. Foreshadowing trips. Excites me and also terrifies me.
Do you know what though? Like, and I've realized this. This is kind of why I've stopped playing or like wanting to play the bigger war games. Like, one of the things that I really like most about it, and I think this is one of the things that captivated me initially and got me into wargaming, is it's not necessarily the miniatures, it's the stage, it's the scenery, it's like setting that atmosphere and having that game on that table. And like seeing Trips, and we'll talk about this in a bit, but like seeing Trips with his scenery that he's been doing, and every time I love sci-fi terrain. I think there's some really awesome stuff out there, particularly with the 3D printable stuff now. And if I had the space for it, I'd love to just like do terrain and make boards and things and have like a couple of games or whatever.
You came alive when we did the Age of Sigmar expansion Bad Moon campaign. I mean, sadly, the game was trash. But
thanks to Milton.
Well, a little bit maybe.
Well, actually, I just learned a lesson from doing that. You know, because it was like one of the first times that I'd kind of played AOS, and we started off that campaign, didn't we? And yeah, I went a bit gamery on it.
What?
Took a vampire lord and zombie dragon at 500 points.
What kind of a lesson? How have you never learned that lesson? That is the question. It's like being like, well, I burned my house down, but at least I learned a lesson. It's like, what? How did you need to be taught not to set fire to your friends?
There was a couple of things that played out there. One was I didn't really want to have to paint much because I was being really lazy. So
was the other one that you just wanted to absolutely shame Craig?
Yeah, the other was like, I thought like, oh, this is a winner. And like the thing is I got really invested in the game. That was the thing, and like I came up with that list from like spending so much time just reading the rules. And
it took ages, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was vampire zombie dragon, 450 points. Oh, I'm done.
No. But it was like playing around with all the upgrades where it was like the save, and like I could do this if I pick this clan and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it wasn't fun. Like setting the campaign up, setting the scenery up, and playing, like getting all the games ready and having the opportunity to play was great.
Yes,
but then
playing it was miserable.
And then playing James, and then James saying he never wanted to play again. Like, it's probably not the best way to start it off, was it?
Yeah, but, I had a similar experience, although I did play 2 games.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I love all of that, and I think like Kill Team and Warcry and Munda would be really good fun to play. I've played a bit of Kill Team, the older one. I've never played Warcry or Munda, but again, I think, and this is one of the reasons why Blood Bowl is so great, is I don't have to have a truck ton of scenery, and I don't have space for it. Literally, at the moment, I do not have space for any of that stuff, mainly because it's occupied by Blood Bowl, but. Even if and Christmas trees, but even if it wasn't, like it's still like it occupies space, which I don't have, and also I've not got the opportunity to go and play those games. But if I did, I'd love it. I'm sure I would love it. Like you said, Ben, I'd be more, I'd be way more invested in like playing it and being more excited about those releases for sure. But the bigger war games, you're right. Like the Leviathan box was how much? Like 120 or something?
I think it might have only been 120.
Yeah, but even so, yeah, that's like what?
Well, it's too much. It's not like a
Blood Bowl teams, yeah.
Yeah, that's an expense. Like, I don't want to be the typical person that's like, oh, you've got to check with your partner before you buy stuff. But I feel like a £50 buy-in, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And £100+, you kind of got to go, I want to buy this. And because of that, it means I can't buy this cabinet unit that we wanted for the kitchen or something like that. Like, I feel like that's the threshold that Tiff and I have got at the moment, is a kind of like, yeah, like, well, we did this, but we're a case of like, have we bought all the baby stuff that we want? Like, have we got everything? And Tiff was like, yes, we've got everything. And I was like, cool, I've got enough in the budget to buy the TV for the studio. So I bought the TV for the studio. And then the next morning, I got a little text from her saying, can we get this bottle prep machine for £200? I was like, yes, like, it's important. But it was kind of like, okay, well, that was kind of my choice, was studio TV, and which is probably the price of a 40k like new box. Definitely like the 40k army, a 40k project.
You've probably already got more use out of it.
Oh yeah, TV's wicked. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we used that for our Bonehead AGM. No, I just wanted to get your input on that, because they did say one really, really salient point, which I think we've talked about before, which is, would people just instantly buy stuff if it was up for sale the day it was pre-ordered?
Probably.
Like, boom, pre-orders today. What are they going to be? It's this is all available. Oh, cool. Yeah, let's get it. And I think it gives you too much time potentially to think about it. But hey, like you guys said, not our problem, because most of the time we are Blood Bowl players, and there is a few bits of actual Blood Bowl news kicking around. None from Games Workshop. I'm surprised they didn't drop a Dungeon Bowl set. I guess that means that the last one didn't sell very well, potentially. Don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. I guess you bought it.
Oh yeah. If it's got the Blood Bowl logo on it, it gets bought. And I think it's still in the cupboard. The only reason I think the models are still on the sprue, because they were the Wood Elves I was going to send to you, Milton, or Halflings, one of the two.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, what was it? It was life and death, wasn't it?
Yeah, I gave the death bits to Rick because he wanted an actual College of Death team, need both the sprues. But talking of Dungeon Bowl, we've got Dungeon Labs Expansion 2. So Dungeon Labs is MG Picks. This is, well, we've printed a couple of these dungeons. And this time they are doing more additional pieces for it, with more squares and actual kind of, they tried to steer it more towards Dungeon Bowl-esque tiles and things. I haven't really had a proper look at, oh dude, it's the Hero Quest dungeon. This just so cool. Sadly that wouldn't work for Dungeon Bowl because it's only got one square, and one square would be absolutely miserable. One square corridor in Dungeon Bowl, can you imagine?
Yes.
Stick a tree in it.
Keep rolling down, there's another one in a minute.
Ooh. Do you know what? Dungeon Bowl is not as good as 7s and not as good as 11s. I think it's better than the other one.
Gutter Bowl.
Gutter Bowl, yeah. I always want to call it Sewer Bowl, but it's not as good, but the dungeon layouts do very excite me. Tiffy May, you've brought me a cup of tea. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pregs. There you go. That's service. Thank you, sweetheart. Magical.
Did you play the Dungeon Bowl tournament? I can't remember, Ben. At Games Workshop.
No.
Okay, so that was actually really good, having the rooms. Like, as long as the room rules are on the board, like you can read them next to the room. It's actually really fun, and I really, really enjoyed that. So this does excite me, having all these rooms. This feels like Tomb of Annihilation, old school D&D.
This is a really good, if you want a hobby project and you wanted to create a Dungeon Bowl pitch with rooms and detail, these are going to be great, because we've seen the first version of them. They print really well. Milton will be over the moon because they magnetize beautifully. And I think he basically just filled out everything you could ever need to do anything, and then you just got to work it out and print your options off.
That's very cool. They got a little Nice.
I'm gonna have to buy this, aren't I?
At least you print it.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing I will absolutely print. Ooh, a
Yeah.
big old dungeon. Yeah, okay. All right, fine. I'm always in the market for hobby projects. No, it is good stuff. It is really good stuff. Right, actually, because this is actually not a Kickstarter. This is on my mini factory as a what are they blooming called? Trips.
Frontiers.
Oh my god, there's new names every day.
Tribe is the my mini factory version of Patreon.
Yeah.
Frontiers,
Frontiers
Trips is the my mini factory version of Kickstarter, and normally you get this straight away, don't you?
If you go on to tiers,
Click.
Frontiers.
Oh,
Brilliant.
come off it! $11.
yeah, there's an early bird price. So if you're listening to the podcast, that price may have gone up about $3 or $4.
That's going straight in the basket.
Yeah, and usually, as you said, with a Frontiers thing, as soon as you have kicked, don't put all your details in on the screen. as soon as you do it, they appear in your library, and then you go, my colleague appears to be taking the sleep test on something, and I'm already printing it.
Just ignore what's happening on the screen. Click. There we go. $11. That's fantastic.
And that's why that goes back to the earlier point where we had when things are low enough, people just get them anyway and get excited. It's because things are too damn expensive.
Did you need 3 weeks of previews? No, you looked at it, thought this is quite interesting. Check the price.
For a reasonable price. Yeah.
Do you know, I think that goes all the way back to the other great thing about sorting out the studios. I've been like bringing home boxes of rubbish that I've still at my parents, and including like actual big boxes of old White Dwarfs. And I remember like White Dwarf, like you got the magazine and in the back was a whole bunch of stuff that you could just buy. And it was like you got the White Dwarf each month and you were like, oh, what are the new releases that I can buy right now? When I say buy right now, I mean
like a catalog,
photocopy the page, write it in with a biro. Like in my old copies of White Dwarfs, I've got like there's biro where me and Ian have like done the maths to figure out which ones we want to get and how much it's going to be. But because it was all mail order stuff, but it was just so wicked because you get it and you have that excitement of like, oh my god, I want to go buy this. And I can't. I remember the last time I had that feeling.
I remember because they used to this pre-internet. Well, it wasn't quite pre-internet, but they used to do the annual catalog. And you'd get the book, and then you'd get that would be like what you have now on the site where you can view everything that they've got. That was the most exciting thing.
Could you view it in 360?
No, sadly.
Can you now?
I suppose no, sadly.
Right. Anyway,
disclaimer. I think you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can now. You can now. Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, that was Dungeon Lab version 2. I've bought it, so I will be printing it, and we will see what's occurring. Next up on the news, this was wicked. I was just doom scrolling productively as you do, and saw this from Cool Kiwi Miniatures. I have yet to buy this, but I will buy it in a moment as well. And it is a Roman gladiator style dwarf death roller chariot. And I saw it, and the model is $2.50, and I just love this. Like, I assume there's a dwarf team that goes with it. I've not checked it out, but the model is just so dumb. It's brilliant.
It's very cute.
He's been putting it in the Discord. I think he's painted it up.
Oh, I flipping love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Like, it's just such a cool little design. And it's got like a little Steam. I don't know what's going on with my internet. I pay a lot for 2 different internet providers because I live in the Netherlands, not the actual Netherlands, like the
notoriously bad in
European countries.
Yeah, it's close. It's close because I accidentally live near. Yeah, no, I just live in Treeland. It's like Athelora. Oh, look at it. That is a really unnecessary model. And it's beautifully done. Absolutely love that. I wanted to show it off because it was just wicked. So that's Cool Kiwi Miniatures. Link is in the show notes because that is just a well fun little model. But It's the first podcast of the month, which means it is Patreon release hype time, and my pick for this month is this team. And I know, Trips, I keep banging on about it, but Amazons are a team that the rules that Games Workshop re-released the rules for them, I think, are still the most exciting of the newer tweaks on teams. Okay, like vampires are real good, but the Amazon one sings to me a bit more because it's obviously, you know, agile and, you know, you do things. And the Ugly team is really good. The Ugly Amazon team is really good. The Where Games team is excellent, but that's a resin one you got to buy. The Games Workshop team is just absolute fine. Like, it is bang on. Yeah, it's good. It's 3.5 out of 5. It's perfectly fine. The blockers are a bit of an issue, Ben. You are exactly right. And Punga sculpts. I mean, Milton, what is it you always say about Punga sculpts?
Well, Punga are great because just for painting them, like they don't hold. They're detailed enough. They're not overly detailed. So one of the things that's we're quite critical about, I think, Games Workshop miniatures is just like, well, Ben loves a bit of filigree, don't you?
Other Ben, this is.
Yeah. I think
he's probably painting it right now.
Yeah. They're just spot on, all of the Punga designs, and they have like a certain I want to say like Warcrafty aesthetic to them, which I like. They're maybe a tad more sort of cartoonish than potentially the Games Workshop. Yeah, which I personally like. I know that's not going to be everyone's thing, but I rate Punga enormously. I think they're great.
I think this is the most perfect team they have delivered. I think
they've taken Slan team and made them not frogs, and that's all they ever had to do. Because that's a great team.
Yeah.
Yes, you are exactly on the money. Anyway, I've printed one of these. It's primed. It's in the shed. I'll be doing a print to pitch video in the next few days for it because I really love this team. So it is on Patreon. It is the first time in a long time. It is a 1 month team. All 16 models.
Oh, okay.
2 blockers, 2 blitzers, 2 throwers, 10 linemen, all in 1 month. They, with the exception of 1 blitzer, which did not print
That's
well.
weird.
No. The models are in there. But this blitzer here. Hang on, blitzer. Is it a blitzer? Yes, it is a blitzer. Should it be called?
Not a good sign.
No. It's like, what do you blitz with in an Amazon team?
Oh, the blockers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, this blitzer catcher, for some reason, the arm here broke off on the pre-supports and on my supported version when I did the first run of the team, because I do all the models with my light supports because I live on the edge with light supports because I want as little impact on the model as possible and that really satisfying spiderweb feel, right? And then I always chuck on a few of the pre-supports as well because I think it's important when you're doing print to pitch videos to be like, yeah, pre-supports work or watch out for this. For some reason, I think I was just too eager with my supports and the Punga pre-supports that you will print them, but you will need warm water and potentially pliers to pull them off because it's not as egregious as that big red orc team that Ben you printed for trips that time.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah, but they are chunky boy. But anyway, I re-supported it. I printed her again, and she's absolutely fine. But with the exception of that, the models print perfectly. It was wonderful. Like one plate, I had 24 perfect Amazon prints, and this team is I think I will be painting up more than one.
I prefer it to their other one. They're Storm Sisters, honestly. I like the Storm Sisters a lot, but I think I prefer these as an Amazon team.
I'm not going to gush anymore because I just think this is the perfect end to the year.
Oh yeah, they did another Amazon team, didn't they? I completely forgot.
Brilliant Amazon team. Ben's painted it up unnecessarily well, and we used it. Did we use it on our stream? Didn't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that the on the ball team?
Yep.
Oh.
It's fine. Don't worry, it's all right.
Yeah,
I'm
no
over
wonder
it.
you prefer this team. Anyway, that is Punga for this month. Now, our store is closed at the moment because I don't want to accept orders when the baby could arrive like that. So it's closed just for a few weeks while the baby gets here and I figure out how much orders and printing I can do with the baby. It may be none. It may be loads. So, but this team will be up on our store at some point in the next few weeks. So, yeah, or probably from somebody else as well. But it's a fantastic team. And the hits keep coming in STL land, which is an interesting one. I think an episode for a podcast coming up soon. Right, Realm of Paths, they dropped that awesome Tomb King team. Milton, how's it coming?
Well, not very far so far.
It's only been a
I've,
week.
I've opened the box, so no, I am really excited to put them together. I just haven't had the time. We've had too much going on. Christmas run up in it. So
well, yeah. But
yeah.
they've now dropped a full-on undead team, and it's a very metal team. And I don't know if I'm saying that because the render is silver, but there's just a ton of armor on these guys. So you've got zombies, you've got skeletons, you've got a bunch of ghouls, you've got 2 gigantic mummies which look wicked, you've got a couple of blitzers. They've done a good job with the blitzers. They are skeleton champions, but they've just got an extra gorget with spikes and a couple of capes, which I think sets them apart brilliantly. And you've got some pretty gribbly ghouls. Now I've printed this out as well, ready for print pitch, and the ghouls are in very dynamic poses. So even though they've got similar armor and they've kind of got a very similar aesthetic to the rest of the team, you can tell them, because this is something that really impressed me. When you've got the models built and primed, you can tell which one the ghouls are because of the way they're moving. And that, I think, is excellent really work. Because I was like, right, which of these are ghouls? And I was like, that guy's moving. Yeah, that guy looks like, yeah. And all the ones that look like ghouls are just in these weird little gating poses. It's fantastic. They look like they should be glued on walls, running up the sides of walls in just like some kind of nightmare cartoon. And it's, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I don't know what else to say about this. It's a 1 month release. You get 2 mummies, 2 blitzers, 4 ghouls, and a bunch of skeletons and zombies. Realm of Paths has done a good job on this one as well.
It's gorgeous.
It was reminiscent of the sort of old artwork.
Oh, like the Champions of Death stuff.
Yeah,
It's the helmets, right?
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the sort of the older Blood Bowl style artwork, and also the comic books, and even I think it's in the Undead Spike. There's a little comic at the back. And it's which is just in black and white. Is it the undead one or is it the necromantic one? I can't remember. Where they kind of like
I don't think there is
invaded by. Yeah, it was like Spike 3 or something. I've actually got a physical copy of that one.
Oh god, that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of that. I think it's very cool. I think this aesthetic will appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job with that one. And then of course, our buddy Bruty, who I think for all intents and purposes is just the Orc Lord. He's sculpted some more orcs for his orc team, and they are fantastic. No, that was a failure.
Nice.
Yeah, where's Ian Warhammer when we need him?
Canned laughter, please.
Can of lager. Oh, canned laughter. Can of lager. The humor is that good. Yeah, no, I could do an IPA. This team is just wonderful. I printed out the first batch, started painting it. I've yet to print out the second batch, but you've got a mooning orc, and you've got a ton of great goblins, and the aesthetic fits in with the Black Orc team, but the team is the Junkyard Brawlers. Oh, God, I can't remember what they're called. And the armor style is that, like, you've got extra bits of metal bolted to things. So you've got the same kind of aesthetic as his Black Orc team, just the sculpt. It's phenomenal to look at the sculpting on these Black Orcs compared to his first team. His first team was the Black Orc team, right? This is just wonderful. Milton, you're the kind of the resident greenskin here.
Yeah,
What's your take?
I want these so badly, and I was saying to him the other day, or it might have been today. I don't know. Time goes, doesn't it?
Time's doing
But,
weird things at the moment.
But yeah, no, I was saying to him, I was like, oh, yeah, because I've been planning to redo my orc team for a long time. I keep talking about it, and I've got orcs on sprues, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get around to doing that, which is the Games Workshop one. And then, of course, he's come along with this, and I'm like, actually, I think this is a far better candidate for me doing that, because I already have a Games Workshop one. And I think that one of my reluctances to go and paint the orc team again is like, oh, I've already got one of those. So I've got loads of other teams I could do, which I'd have another one. But with these guys, yeah, and every positional's different. There's so much character to this. And also, he's done a little goblin cheerleader. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
I posted that in the Discord. That's really fun.
Along with his palette cleanser.
Yeah.
Of Grimgore Ironhide.
I know, so cool. Which he was like, oh yeah, here's a render of what I'm thinking about, and then like 5 minutes later, he's done it. Like this, so good.
Absolutely phenomenal. But yeah,
turns out the quality work.
Each of these guys has got character, and this is us. Rick popped round earlier, and we had a little chat about stuff, and he was like, the thing that's missing for Blood Bowl these days is, and I think it's interesting because we kind of touched on it earlier, is like Blood Bowl is way more about the game than like it's like playing the game, which is brilliant, which is probably why it's one of the best miniatures game out there. Is because the setup time is very minimal if you know what you're doing, and the story element of Blood Bowl, like that narrative, it does get a little bit lost because it's completely unneeded until you start brewing up your team in a league, right? And every single one of these models, like especially the flipping goblins, like God, I love Grop Brady from this team. Like, look at these goblins. Like, that lad is going to be famous, and I want to get a throwing touchdown to the catcher goblin. And like,
or he'll die game 1.
Yeah, and then you just bring him back with a 2 by the end of his name. This guy just being Jaws, it's just incredible that a tiny Blood Bowl goblin model can give me flashbacks of GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, and that makes me very happy because this guy needs a little bowl hat, because then he would be both Jaws and Oddjob at the same time. Like, absolutely just wicked. Like, these are a painter's masterpiece. We're so lucky with Blood Bowl. Yeah, so Bruty absolutely crushing it. My Mini Factory, anything good? Dungeon Blocks, the medieval town. I think it's best I don't look at that. Okie dokie. There's a couple more. Yeah, a couple more to look at. We've got Torchlight here doing a really interesting steampunk dwarf sewer team. I mean, some of it is phenomenal. Milton, I want to know what your take is on this chap in the middle. What does he make you think of?
Him?
Yeah.
It's Dr. What's his name?
Yeah, Dr. Robotnik from Sonic.
Yeah,
that's it. That is it. It's a really interesting team. The first models he showed of these were these guys here, which I think might be runners. And I was like, this is weird. Like, they've got power fists. So, yes, if you want a team of dwarves that look kind of... But I know they were going for steampunk. But it's just a really strange aesthetic. I think it is a ton of fun. It is absolutely positively not for me. But every one of the sculpts is actually really fun. And I think printed and painted as a whole team, this would look wicked.
I think it'd be quite fun for Gutter Bowl. I think they'd fit that thematically.
I mean,
these to me look like they're from League of Legends. I don't know if you guys are used to play, but
yeah,
like Ziggs or Heimerdinger or something like that.
No, definitely some people get influence.
I don't do drugs, let alone hard drugs, Ben. Interesting one. I just thought, he's gone hard with a style.
I mean, if you're a dwarf fan, there are so many different dwarf teams, third-party dwarf teams, like so many different aesthetics that you could have like a dwarf team in every style. So I mean, yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I thought it was very notable. I think actually, a model from this would be quite good as a random paint up. I think it would be really good fun. And this is probably the set that has the most potential for just random RPG games.
Oh my god, yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah.
Dwarf Artificer, bam, straight off the bat. I mean, that guy in the middle is basically my Artificer character, but a dwarf.
Oh, you mean not the guy with the top hat with candles on, pointing his power fist?
No, he's not quite that. That kind of person. More the middle one.
I think I like it even more now. This is so cool, right? Blood Bowl is just so much about the game that you can use any kind of mad theme, mad vibe to go with it.
Well, when we draft again, if you get a dwarf, there you go.
Well, I've got plans. I've got ideas for that. But we didn't get a chance to talk about that at the AGM in the content discussion. But I've got a couple of things that I think you guys will enjoy / hate a little bit, which I like even more. Right, and the last one we got a bit of news for is the Agni team. They've rounded out their Tomb Kings, but it's got a Cheney model ticking over here, and we've got a Ivan the Animal Death Shroud, which I tell you what, if we just go to this paste, we can click through, and hopefully at the speed of the New Forest internet, we can tick through and look at some of the models in the set. The Tomb Guardians, they have such a weird profile. Like they are the shape of an upside down avocado. It is.
It's giving me Mr. Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, they look like a Warhammer 40k player who works at home, so therefore has got no legs.
Yeah, I watched that channel. Slander.
That's spicy.
Ivan Agni Shroud, right? Excellent points for the name here. Do you know? I think we're still waiting for a definitive Ivan the Death Shroud model. Agni generally are like batting 900 when it comes to their star players, but this guy just doesn't feel right to me to be. It's a cool sculpt, and I love the mohawk because it's pretty low bar. If you put a mohawk on a model, I'm pretty much like, hey, paint it orange, send him to his doom. But this one, it's not quite there for me.
All of the faces have Eddie vibes. You know, Iron Maiden's mascot.
Yeah, I think that might be on purpose. And we've seen that a couple of times with some of the undead teams, haven't we? Was it the Trips? Who's the company that's doing all the stadiums at the moment?
Oh,
Ortiz.
Yes, they did a Tomb King team, didn't they? That had kind of very cartoony faces. I actually loved those models. But I think since then you've got these kind of overly characterful undead faces. Oh, no, actually, Cheney, however, is a very cool model.
Yeah, he is.
I like the Broody one, but this one I think is a very, very, very good alternative as well. It just looks more hairy.
Very big.
If that's you know your jam.
Mm.
And they came with bases this time. I didn't bother printing them off because printing bases in resin is kind of miserable, generally speaking.
Have you? I don't know. Sorry, I don't mean to tangent. Have you tried the new Charlie Factory stuff? They have a new base printing system in their 2.0 bases. They're really good. I haven't actually tried one of their full bases yet, but I've done loads of toppers. But they print it where you have a little platform, and then you have a really super thin, like I'm talking like a micron thin, long support that goes around the rim, and then it prints off of that, and it just peels off, and it's done. So you don't have loads of supports. You just have this like one really thin, long one. They're very cool. Yeah, I've done loads and loads of toppers that just snap in this perfect circle.
That sounds incredibly satisfying.
Worth checking out.
Charlie Factory.
Yeah, but it's spelled TXARLY.
Oh, Charlie Factory.
Yeah, it's pronounced Charlie apparently in a language.
Oh, who named it? Old Tesla boy. Jesus.
It's a language. Don't be racist then.
Well, no, I just, if you spell it with old letters and then say it's pronounced differently, I just get Elon Musk vibes.
I'll be honest, I've been calling it Tarlixal Factory or something for
Tarlixal. Okay, that's just dyslexia.
Tarlixal, that's good for coughs. Anyway, this team I've also printed out and got primed and based. It's also in the shed, ready for a print pitch. Because do you know what? It's a bit scratchy. The faces, I think you're right, Milton. They're a little bit like, the mascot of Iron Maiden. But I think the sculpts are really good. The downside, and this is something that you get with like every undead team ever. I printed these with light supports myself, and there were a myriad of casualties. It is entirely possible that Ugni... Well, actually, I looked at the Ugni pre-supports. Now, Ugni pre-supports are almost perfect. There's only a few models with light ankles that you have to be careful with. But I looked at the pre-subs and I was like, this is heavy. Not that heavy, but heavy for what you've got. And I printed the whole team with light supports myself, and I probably had about a 20% casualty rate in tearing off. And we're talking light supports. At light supports at a 45-degree angle, you can kind of just move the model sideways and it peels off and it makes a really wonderful noise. You can even toggle it right and then left and then right again. I still lost a bunch of legs and arms. So if you're going to print the team, be very, very careful with it, I guess. But it's a very cool team. And again, I think this is a really good candidate for a team that we're going to see painted up brilliantly.
It looks like it'd take to contrast quite well. There's a lot of grooves. I don't know what the word is.
That does
levels. That's it.
That does score extra points in my world. Right, fantastic. Is there any other news and bits and bobs that we've missed, guys?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I think Ian posted a picture of those bases in our WhatsApp.
Ooh, I'll bring it up for our hobby section. So I've got a couple of bits to get off WhatsApp. Fantastic. Well, before we move on, just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports the show in whatever way that you do. I think I said the same thing last time. Like, sorry, it's a bit slow going at the moment, but next year is going to be a very good year for us. I promise you. And thank you all very much for supporting. Right, cheeky bit of hobby time. All right, quick round of hobby projects and bits. This is the picture of the Charlie factory, the Charlie Chocolate Factory bases here. I like that. That's a cunning strategy with the supports.
I don't think it sells how thin that support is, by the way. That is like floppy. You know when you do like a tank clean and you get like that sheet that you pull off? It's thinner than that.
Another satisfying piece of 3D printing. That it's the only good thing about having a failed print.
It's so much better.
Is
you get to do the peel.
Interesting. I'll have to get some of them and try them out. Wicked.
They actually have in the second Kickstarter, there is a Blood Bowl one, but 16 different 32mm bases with like foam fingers and stuff. Yeah, it's there.
Oh, dude,
like built in grass. I think it's cracked earth actually. I think it's like, but you can just stick grass on it, or you can have cracked earth. So.
Yeah, all right, sign me up. That sounds perfect. Trips, I think you shared the painted picture of this cool Kiwi's actual model.
That was me.
But
yeah, he posted that in the Discord. I think it looks really great.
Absolutely fantastic. I love that. Oh, there's some lovely weathering and everything. The sculpt's great. It's fun. I love that. That's just an absolute win. I'm just going to absolutely throw myself into hobby first, guys, because I want to just show this off. Lewis and Craig came round. We talked about impending baby and stuff like that until 1 o'clock in the morning yesterday. Boy, howdy, do they give you some stories. Feeling very good about the whole thing. But we also got the Realm of Battle out, our old Realm of Battle from, I don't know, pre-broadband years or whatever it was. When we sent Craig off to work at Games Workshop so he could get discounts. And then we pounded together and bought it. See, Milt, you got all your sprays in the background there.
Nice.
And yeah, popped it on the 6x4 gaming table in the studio with the big wall of mountain there as well. And it just it was very cool to set it up. And then we went into the house, made a cup of tea, and then opening the studio doors and seeing this 6x4 Warhammer table with a mountain backdrop in there, like lit from the ceiling, with synthwave playing and shiny lights just going mad around the edges. I was like, yes, it has
Childhood
taken
dream.
me 25 years, but I have now achieved like this wicked hobby room, and then I packed it away. To be avoided, although it did lead towards me printing 20 goblins just because I was like, I need goblins, and I found some stuff to put in the little shiny hat. I got my little mini Green Bay helmet and the Charlie Victor foam ball.
Nice.
And a couple of my little Blood Bowl footballs there, starting to fill out really, really, really nicely. But no, it's been fun. This is Craig's Chaos Dwarf team. Just set up on the Realm of Battle. Now, this is trash, so I'm going to have to redo the whole Realm of Battle if we want to ever use it. But, hey, it's held up. There's a newspaper in there from 2012 or something, which was quite funny. 2012, 2016 or something, I don't know.
The apocalypse days.
Just the pre-days. But no, that was my little wicked hobby moment of just playing in the shed this week. Sorry, the studio. And then we got a little bit of hobby from Blood Tithe here. BT.
Yeah, so Brush Tithe still going well. Had a few delays. New business planning timing has been, I think I was a bit over optimistic. So sorry about that. If your order is delayed, you should be aware. But yeah, no, this is one of the projects I've recently been doing. This was the Punga Vampire Buccaneers. So yeah, I recently worked on that with the Brute Fun Varg as well, because, it's a good Varg.
It's the best.
Yeah, no, this was really fun. Again, like Milton said, Punga models paint well, so this was good.
Look at the
stars.
warm light of the lantern.
I really like that, actually.
Okay, that bit is beautifully painted. I have one massive question though. How does he light it? It's just sad. This
just hits it really hard and sparks.
Is this the Star Player vamp that they redid?
Yeah, so that's the Luther painted in like box art Luther colors, and same with Karina.
You got purple hat. Is this? This isn't the Forge World one, is it?
No, both are Punga.
I didn't realize that Punga had done a purple hat star as well.
Yeah. I think they did those when the team came out, obviously. So,
I mean, this
is an older team, but yeah.
Yeah, this is one of their first Kickstarters, I think, isn't it? I think it went.
Yeah, I think it went Pirates Cursed Crew as one, and then it was these. So.
Yeah. This Vampire Lord is an absolute classic, right?
Yeah, he's fun. I like him a lot. He's the thrower, one of the throwers at least. Though I wanted to comment on the basing. So I'm actually going to do a little short thing, like on Instagram probably. So if you follow Brush Tithe on Instagram, you'll see that hopefully soon. But just on how these are done, because a few people asked about that. And just briefly, it's so easy. I had an image of aged wood, or like ship deck wood, on my screen, and just kind of held it up every now and then to look at it. And it's so spray it grey, and then stipple or airbrush, both are fine. It has to be messy. Any brown you can find, like grab brown, mix it in whatever, just as many browns. You can't have too little, too less. You can't have too many. Stipple it everywhere. Wash it entirely in black. Oil if you can. Null is fine. And then dry brush like a bone, like a bone color, and then I added in just a bit of green, and that's it. It's like really, really quick and easy wood to make it look like not just brown.
I was going to ask you about that because it does look fantastic. And like plank wood base toppers is something I've been looking for a while. I think the Kraken, they do a printable pitch, which is like a ship, which would work really well with these. Obviously, you've got the Dark Elf Games Workshop pitch, which would work really well with these. And then Punga love their pirates, don't they? So there's like so many Punga teams that would work with this. It's really cool.
I found some STLs of plank topped bases, and I printed out a bunch just to use for the Punga Patreon ones. And I printed out a bunch, and that was when they started doing Chaos halflings all of a sudden. I was like, oh, for God's sake! I spent all year doing pirate teams. I was like, I'm gonna get ahead. I'll print a couple more of these, so I've got them ready to go. And then they were like, Chaos. I was like, oh, all right, cheers for that. But no,
we're done now.
that is The team looks absolutely wonderful. Like, Punga, they do some good stuff, but that Bruty Varg is just excellent. Craig brought his round as well yesterday. And he was like, yeah, look at this. Because they did it in the old Cursed City black and red zenithal kind of style.
Nice.
And it's just, it takes a lot of good paint. But Ben, this is a very, very, very lovely team. Can I ask you a question? Does it hurt sometimes to ship these off?
No, not really. Like, I think the first few jobs, like I did kind of, but I think that's past. I think I just am excited now. It's like, it's sort of the feeling where it's like, I know these are going to somewhere where they're going to get used and loved and stuff, and I've painted stuff which I've used maybe like once or not at all, and it's just like, I'd rather people play with them. So it's nice to know that you're, making people happy. I think that means a lot. So like, I like seeing them go.
Nah, that's wicked.
Yeah.
Have you had any sci-fi stuff, or has it been mostly Blood Bowl?
I have through freelance work. So I don't think I said on the podcast, I do freelance work with C Studios as well. So through that, I have had sci-fi stuff, sort of 40k. But no, through Budgetide, it's entirely Blood Bowl. And there's a lot of it too. So I'm working my way through. Grebo Chaos Chosen are up next, I think.
Oh, that's a wicked team. But anyway, talking about sci-fi trips, I feel like you've been doing a few bits of hobby yourself.
Yeah, I decided to get the printer back out working again, and of course, what should be a 2-hour job turned into a 2-day job of slowly tweaking and playing and software updating. But I can now be very distracted by watching it through a webcam, which is very lazy because it's there.
This is plastic printing, isn't it?
This is plastic printing. So I have started on a little spaceship for various sci-fi games, and with a handy take-off roof so you can get to your miniature. And then someone put into our group chat that there was some Necromunda tiles, and they took the sleep test, but not for me. I straight away went into printing them, and have printed half a tower already. But they are really good. They come in sort of half tiles. You can see how thick they are or how thick they aren't. So they print, that's a half an hour print to print those out. And then like a whole floor system is like that. And that. So simple.
Oh, so you kind of print a skeleton and then you can put the tops on.
Then you put the tops on, yeah.
That's interesting. Because you can actually voluntarily have holes in them as well, I guess.
Yeah. It's a really cool kit, and it just absolutely smacks of the 1995 Necromunda thing. Milton, this is exactly the dangerous bit of terrain.
I'm almost like not wanting to look because
then buckle up for these action shots. Is it this one?
Yeah, because if you do look, Milton, you do what I do, which is go, oh yeah, that looks good. Oh, I seem to have bought it. Oh, I appear to be printing it, and you're like, well, that was a interesting 20 minutes.
Yeah,
be honest, Ian, is your printer running right now?
It's not running right now, but we are at that stage of the year where I believe that heating the room through using of the printer is a good idea.
No, it's this picture here, and then blending into this picture here. It's just like, this is OG Necromunda. This is like,
was this card stock?
Oh
yeah, so that's the original card, and with the plastic sort of ends to build it. And basically,
right, okay.
I can print all of that, and it's not going to be a weeks and weeks job. I reckon I could print the tower over a couple of days. Now I've figured out what I'm doing, and it's a clip system or a magnetic system, but the clips, the printer's dialed in now, so the clips are really fitting well. They come on off and on without too much hassle. So yeah, I shall have a tower soon for the chat.
Those
That's
whippy
cool.
sticks were weapons.
Oh.
I don't know if I said on the podcast, but Alison found my heresy ones, and it's been chaos. I see her like at work, and what she's thinking is like,
I'll keep the nunchucks hidden. No, trips. It's been like, it was so funny how quickly you turned that bit around, and it was like, I've been printing this, and I was like, oh, it's more bits for your I can't remember the solo sci-fi RPG. I was like, you're building
the
the
5
spaceship.
parsecs.
Yeah, for 5 parsecs. I was like, he's doing more of that. And I was like, hang about, that's the bloody Necromunda terrain we were just looking at.
Yeah, well, there's an added bonus. 5 parsecs is 28 mil miniatures. Necromunda is 28 mil miniatures. Kill Team they're slightly bigger, but it still works nicely with the terrain. So print once and don't use multiple times.
Yeah, the opportunity to use is massive.
Yeah.
The chances are minimal, but the opportunity for use is absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good, Trips. Mill, how about you, dude? Anything exciting going on?
No, unfortunately, we've been kind of up and down with health in the family, so I've not had much opportunity to do much hobby. I have done a little bit more work on my ogre baby from Bonehead Bowl, which has been fun, and that is going to be the start of a snotling team.
Ooh,
So,
that's cool.
Yeah, they're all going to be based up the same way that I've done that. So yeah, with the aim of taking them in with a crack and crumbleberry tournament list. So
Crack and Crumbleberry Snotlings.
yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember, because that's a 2-star players that count as one of your 2-star player choices. You could even fit Bomber in there to make extra friends.
Yeah, everyone will love that, won't they?
Actually, he's a megastar though, isn't he? So
he is, yeah. So you got taxed on that. No, I think it's going to be quite simple. I think it would just be crack and crumbleberry, trolls and snots, and I think that'll just be quite fun. Maybe if we're odd man inning or something like that, and I'm not too worried about doing too brilliantly. Although snotlings, yeah, I'm still so impressed by
lethal in tournament play.
You got to wonder
I've been
how
hating.
much of that is Hackflem.
I don't know. I played against Hackflemless Snotlings with Corn. It was miserable. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
well,
great
that's
game.
just-
It was Toby. He's a lovely guy, but it's it's
That's
horrible.
As a matchup, that is absolute trash, though, as well.
Fine if they die.
You're right. I need to get the Toon Kings out as well. I keep lovingly looking over at them. I just haven't had time. But I have had we're all much better now, and I have had a pretty damn good clear out. Kind of organized everything. Actually, kind of hobby related. I bought an app called Paint Rack, which I found from just Googling, seeing what was available, because I've been using the Citadel app where you can register all the paints you've got. But obviously, it's just Games Workshop ones. But Paint Rack's really cool because you can use any of the brands. They've got this rapid scanning, so you can just scan all the barcodes on the back of the paint pots, and it just puts them all in. It does all the color theory. You can make sets. You can plan and record what you've been painting. Mostly so I don't forget, because I'll pick up a project and then 10 months later I'll be like, how did I paint that? And I'm like, as long as I'm diligent with it and filling it out and everything. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So at the beginning of the pod, we were talking about ticking off that feeling of I want to buy this, I want to get involved in this, and you can kind of tick the box without actually doing it. I would be really worried about okay, I need a paint scheme for these guys, using the app and being like, that's the paint scheme. Cool, solved. Next project. Never even get to painting.
I don't need the app for that, because I've done that 100 times. You're like, here's the name of the team. I've named the players. I've done the paint, but they're still on the sprue. So
completed it without even starting.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm done. I've played a few games with them in my head. I'm done now.
I went 3-0. Next team. Trips. There's for the Necromunda stuff. I backed a couple of these kill team things, and I figured if Necromunda ever happened, these little floor pieces just
they are amazing for it. Yeah.
Stuck to a couple of MDF panels or something like that would be brilliant. But I personally love the 40k orc kill team set, because it's just proper gribbly metal.
Ooh, I like the raised look with the lights underneath it. I'm having.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah.
Your Necromunda terrain on raised LED goodness.
Yeah. I mean, it's got terrain and LEDs. I mean, what more could make a man happy?
With some more LEDs.
There's something about those pictures from the angle and the lighting that makes them look like a video game, like like Diablo or something, where it's like you're side scrolling. Not these ones, the terrain, the Munda terrain. Yeah, those.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? It is a render. To be
Yeah.
fair. It is a render.
Oh, it is a render. Okay, I was like, wow, yeah, I'm going for my dungeon.
Yeah, but that can be replicated, and that might be an extension of the current project.
Is it a
I
render?
just see gene stealers pouring out.
I don't think it is.
I don't think that's a render.
I thought it was
I
a
think
render
they've just
based
got
on
lights underneath.
the painting.
Yeah,
of the
it would be
terrain.
more consistent if it was a render. It does look like scattered LEDs underneath, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's painted. That's painted on a black surface. Yeah, you can tell there's like crumbs on the black below.
Yes.
Ooh.
Spot the chest hair. That's
Bit of digestive.
yeah. I don't know.
Hey, look, black cloth mats pick everything up.
All right, on that bombshell, lads.
Not included.
I think we'll move on to the main topic. Okay, so we've had a good chatty episode about this, that, and everything. But what we wanted to talk about today a little bit was my rubbish little chair up here. I can't remember quite how you said it, Milton, but I think it was along the lines of: is it always right to play to win a game of Blood Bowl? Is that about the question that was raised?
Yeah, that was around the point. Yeah.
So I think the answer is no. And
Cool.
great
Good talk.
episode.
Let's-
Yeah. No, but particularly Milton, why did that thought kind of pop into your head? What were you what were you thinking?
So, okay, I think this is one of the lessons that, well, I personally think this is a lesson that I took a long time to learn about Blood Bowl. So
Blood
this
Bowl,
obviously
not just stacking negative modifiers on a zombie dragon in a small scale game. And
well, we'll come back around to that in a minute because it does kind of play into this slightly. No, so like league and tournament play, as we've discussed, are quite different animals. And in a tournament, obviously, your main objective is to win, right? You know, you're there, you're in a competitive environment. You've built your team, and it's all what it is, and it's all structured, and that's great. But in league's very different, and league has a kind of character to it. And we've touched on this many times, and I know you yourself, Ben, really like your team. You're very attached to some of the players, and that kind of skill development, that leveling them up, carrying them over to the next season and everything is quite important. Now, when I started playing Blood Bowl, I was like, well, winning's the most important thing because you're playing a competitive game, and if you come in from other tabletop war games and stuff, generally speaking, winning is the kind of the core objective, right? You're playing. I mean, you might be playing with like some sort of theme, or you might be playing like what do they call them in the? You might be picking up Lord of the Rings or something and playing Battle for Helm's Deep, and you know the outcome, and you're just playing it like that. But normally speaking, you'd be playing to win. But with a league game, it took me a long time to learn that winning wasn't necessarily everything. Now, that's because you're developing those players, and sometimes it's more important to focus on that than necessarily taking the win, at least in my opinion. And that's kind of where the topic came from.
And I think we saw a really good example of that with BT, with your Skaven team, who came out of the blocks in the last league and were like smacking everybody all over the place, but you significantly ran out of players very quickly. And you ended up with a pretty vanilla Skaven team about halfway through the league as everyone else was leveling up.
Yeah, Greenskin Phil's orc team like ruined them.
Jolly good curb stomping there.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'd rather have lost the game and had all my players than won. Although I think I lost the game anyway. In that situation, yeah, I know what you mean, Milton. Still, I don't know if I want to keep rolling ones though. So where does that come in?
Well, say on the rolling ones thing, I think there are times when you play, and particularly when you play league, when there are things that you can do, and maybe rolling the one just stops you rolling dice. And maybe it's self-control you really need as opposed to rolling a 1. But there are times when you are working up the list of silly things to do, and you're like, well, I'll just give the next one a go and the next one to go, and before you know it, your star blitzer's tripped over, fallen, and he's got an edge busted injury, and you're like, well, why did I do that? So there are times when actually being forced to play shorter turns, not do as much, but get your team out doesn't hurt.
So I saw it. I was a really interesting sidebar that came up, because that's how the start of my vampire team season went. And I remember sitting down with my very first opponent and being like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be making some strange plays that maybe not the best thing to do, because I really want to just brew up this team as fast as possible. And yeah, the rolling ones on purpose is more a case of like choosing to do things that are risky, because you can't roll a 1 unless you actually roll the dice. And the classic example of this is farming SPP on quick passes. So I actually failed this, and did I give a defensive turnover? I think it might have just ground to a halt, and I lost an offensive drive because of it. Because I was like, right, vampire thrower needs to chuck the ball to this vampire, so I get some SPP. And then the next turn I could drive up, but actually instead of a handoff, I'm going to take a quick pass. So instead of just a 2+ catch, it's going to be a 2+ throw, then a 2+ catch, because to try and build that SPP. And I think the ultimate example of this is something you very, very, very rarely see on the tabletop, but I am incredibly guilty of doing this on the digital Blood Bowl games. Okay, let's look at my players. Which one of these gutter runners needs a touchdown? Okay, cool. How can I maneuver these people around so that gutter is the one getting the touchdown? And basically, like the premise of this is, when is it right? And when is it okay to make suboptimal plays in the context of that game, when you're looking at the risk paying off in the context of the season? And I mean, Trips, we love the NFL, and it's been really interesting to see some teams that have been like quite trash and just failed, but then they kind of develop and learn things from failing. So there's kind of like a twofold thing here, where you make mistakes and you go, I shouldn't have left him there because I got surfed. That's a really basic one. But we're talking about, where do you choose that? But like the Packers are a great example of this, where they beat the Chiefs this week, and I was looking at that game and I was like, why have they put that on a Sunday night football? Like, that is just miserable. And I woke up in the morning and Jordan Love had decided that actually he'd finally got 12 SPP, he took a double, and now he can make passes, and now they're playing actual American football. So I guess a good place to go with this would be like, what amount of games would you be willing to risk doing the suboptimal play? And it is the suboptimal play is always about getting SPP, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on your league structure. And I mean, if you're having a very short league, then you haven't got the time to play around with it, because you're not going to get into the top of the league, or you're not going to get into the playoffs, so you're getting through. There is an interesting logic around playing for the next season and gaining all the SPPs, not really worrying about the results, and keeping those SPP, redrafting, and then applying them 2 minutes after the redraft.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to play a league structure. I mean, this obviously goes to having the consistency to play leagues a lot, but like, if you had a league, maybe like the 2 final teams or something can't redraft into the next season. So like, leagues can develop and carry on until they like win. Maybe not the 2, maybe the winner. The winner has to stop. But maybe try it like that, where you have a league winner and they have to take a break to allow other teams to develop. That might cause some things. Because like, when I was running that Skaven team, I wasn't making, I was making stupid plays just unintentionally, but I wasn't like making unnecessary dice rolls on purpose and to think of, this is SPP. I was just playing Skaven, and I might do a vanity pass at the end, but otherwise I'm just scoring touchdowns and getting SPP from that. My focus was winning games, because the league was 6 games. Had it been 12 games, probably those early games, I would have been taking really, really bold plays just for SPP.
And also, I think it's really interesting. And again, I'm going to put the spotlight of the NFL on this. There are 32 teams. Only one can actually win the Super Bowl. So you've got this kind of classic, like, you either win or your season was a waste. But that's not actually true. Like, because the way the NFL does it is you have a good season and you are a contender, and you feel like, yeah, the team is a contender, they could have won, and that is kind of like, yeah, good enough. Or your team is trash and they get good draft picks, which is a nice bit of like a catch-up mechanic that I think is really, 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 really good in the NFL, unless you're the Rams and just give it all away. When it comes to Blood Bowl, like, you there's only one team is going to win the league, and it is really difficult to just luck out and not just like one game, bail yourself out. I mean, I had a wonderful time in my Skaven in Toyman until my dice were just trash and I was out in the semis, and it was like, okay, that was fun. But having that continuity, I think, is what you just mentioned. But it's like having the prospect of the next season be a reality makes it worthwhile. And I think you got to have the club for that. But I mean, Milton, you kind of started playing a lot of Blood Bowl 3. There's no redrafts in Blood Bowl 3 now. What's the kind of dichotomy between the digital version and the tabletop version here when it comes to brewing up your teams? Do you find that on Blood Bowl 3, people will merrily make suboptimal plays to brew up SPPs because it's in that environment of ever living? Help me out here, guys. What's the phrase?
Eternal.
Thank you very much. It's an eternal format, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I do exactly what you said you do as well, which is on the digital version, I'm like, oh, well, all of these orcs have block, that one doesn't, so I probably need to walk the ball in with him. So I'm going to try and work that one out, just in order to get the SVP there. I think a lot of people do that on the digital one. I don't know what the psychological aspect of that is. Maybe it's just because all the information's kind of like there on like a heads-up display. You're not thinking about, the turn times. The games go a lot quicker as well. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more of that kind of thought, I think, goes through. I see people lining up certain players or certain plays, even fouling to a certain extent, with players that I don't necessarily see so much on the tabletop. And maybe that is because like your team's permanent, but then the ladder structure is kind of weird. I somebody have to explain it to me because I've not quite wrapped my head around how the point system works, because I have quite a few wins, I have a few losses, I have a reasonable amount of draws as well. But I feel like my team hasn't really progressed. But when I look at the ladder or whatever, if I can see like teams where they're just like, they're a fresh team, they've won like 6 games, and they're like 600 places higher than my team, which has won more than. Does it
use like that same like ELO ranking where it's like beating better people puts you higher?
I guess it must. I guess it must do.
Okay, I can't remember what it's called. The NAF uses it as well. I can't remember.
Like a strength of schedule type of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't done enough research into it, and maybe someone can inform me on the Discord, which would be cool. But yeah, so to a degree, but then you get to a point, and then I think what people do is they just sack their team off and just start again. And we've seen a lot of that, which of course you can't do in a league. So it changes. Oh, like you just be like, oh well, I'm 3 games in, it's not going so great, I'll just give it another go. I mean,
we've seen people do it, but yeah,
we've seen people do it, but it's not quite as common a thing. It's an interesting question. I think as the game evolves, we'll see that change. Perhaps I think maybe as there's more teams, they obviously like assess the ladder in particular is different. Obviously, when we get the league tools, we might see more of a sort of similarity with the tabletop kind of environment.
I am living for that. 1,000 ways.
But yeah, no. Talking about this this sort of losing intentionally. So earlier in the Discord, Thwomp was asking a question about star players, because in the rulebook, it says about purchasing star players. If in League, if two people buy the same star player, it basically cancels it out. Whereas in tournaments, what we play is the sort of the doppelganger effect, where you both run it. We're talking about how that structures, and he was kind of asking questions, and they're perfectly good questions, because it's kind of a strange thing. You're saying, well, why would you run it differently in League to tournaments? Why wouldn't you just have the doppelganger effect? And we were kind of running through the fact that, well, realistically, the inducements in League are to try and balance the team out. One of the things that I kind of concluded from that is, and we've talked about this, in fact, I think you pointed out to me, Ben, is like statistically, if your team value is lower than the others, you're more likely to lose, right? Even with inducements, like favor's not on your side because most of their players are skilled up, or they've got more skills than you do, and therefore you're at a statistical advantage. So even if you take an inducement, it may not necessarily be helpful. And one of the things I was saying to him was, well, in League, is taking a star player always the right choice? Because you might take Griff, for example, and he'd be great at scoring and everything, and you'll win the game, but you'll get no SPP because Griff's taken it all.
That's always been something we've talked about when looking at star players, isn't that right, Trips? We look at a star and we'll be like, well, he's going to help you win the game, but you will be playing the next game with the same team.
Yeah, the best stars for League are the ones that enable you to give SPP to someone else. The best stars for an important game are the basically the mega stars who help you win a game.
The combat stars.
It does fall into that realm of going, actually, if you're several players down and you take a star on and your League team comes out of it and you go, well, I drew the game or I won the game, but my team didn't advance in any way at all, have you really benefited?
No, you've not, as far as I can see. And I was sort of saying, well, yeah, I mean, there are very few circumstances, I think, that I would want to take a star in League, unless it was like a semi-final or a final, and I thought it was really going to make that difference for that win. But especially early on in development, if you're coming into a experienced league, and there are experienced teams in there that have a significantly higher team value than you, and you're running something fresh, or even if you've just decided to bring in a new team or whatever, I think that you're often better off taking a wandering APO or kegs or something like that, and just focusing on keeping your guys alive, skilling them up with a few of those passes if you can. If not, score a touchdown or get some casualties in. Or
do you think the same about combat stars though? Because they don't usually take SVP away from your team. It's more like an apothecary in virtue of killing the opponents that are going to kill your players. Like if you take Bomber and he removes like their star blitzer, Bomber's actually star blitzer. Yeah, but if you take
Bomber's a real risk though, isn't he? Because he can backfire.
Yeah, but you're talking there like the Apo is going to keep your players active, and then it's going to increase the chance that they do something that gets some SPP that then levels them up. Well, a combat, you're right though, Ben. Like most of the time, a combat star is the brilliant middle ground, because you're like, cool, now I've got a strength 4 hefty dude, a strength 5 guy that I can put on the line. He's going to take all the damage, saving the rest of my team and also helping me win. But I think they're kind of one and the same. I think the big issues are your hack flems, But what Trips said, the support stars, like Trips, what was the elf star that had like
Aspen Thorn? It was the ideal. The ball comes out of the guy. He grabs the ball. He never has a problem picking it up. He throws it to any player who can catch it at any distance,
and then he sits down, and that's it. Yeah, it's just like the touchback machine.
I want him back in the game.
He's in Blood Bowl 3, isn't he?
He's in Blood Bowl 3. Yeah. Yeah, I really want him back on the tabletop.
Oh, yeah.
I remember taking him to, I don't know, like to one of the Birmingham tournaments with the team, because it was just brilliant. Like sure hands, kick off, return, pass. And it was just like, yep, cool. I always start with the ball. An interesting one, and that allowed your team to kind of continue to do stuff and to continue to kind of to develop. And I think that the beautiful thing about League is your team developing and broadening up character. And this has always been my most interesting thought about the way halflings tend to be run in League. Now, there are some halfling coaches that run their halfling team as a team, but I think the correct way to run halflings, and jump in here, guys, if I'm wrong, is to run them as a star player with 2 treemen and a bunch of counters.
Best?
Yeah.
Can I have best, please?
Yeah. Best.
What do you mean most successful way to run halflings? Or do you mean, because I mean, if we're talking star players in League, that's something I don't touch, just thematic wise. My team, it's not a star player team.
Yeah, no.
So if I was running halflings in League, I wouldn't, but yeah.
Well, no, but but that's the interesting thing. Like, that's what I wouldn't either. Like, I'd be like, hoo, I'm going to get hefty, and my hefty is going to get pass, and I'm going to have a quarterback, and I'm going to lose all the games, but my team is going to have identity. And I think that was what Milton was saying about just running win stars and next week my team will be exactly the same, and I'll just play in the inducement space. And I think it's cool to have those options, but I don't know. Like,
it kind of feels like you brought a tournament team to a League game.
Yeah.
Which is it's a very difficult mesh, isn't it? And I'm not saying it's wrong. There was, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, forgive me, but someone said, well, they've seen it where people have used their treasury to buy bomber to stop bomber.
Oh yeah. The counter pick strat.
Yeah, that's city rule anyway. Don't use that.
And this is where we come full circle. Maybe the lessons I've learned from my zombie dragon days, where I feel that's just like super gamey, and I wouldn't want to do it. It's just like, if somebody really feels like they're at a disadvantage and they've decided they're going to bring bomber, then bring bomber. It's fine. Like, I don't want to like counter pick bomber just because you're bringing bomber. But I kind of get why people might want to do it. Like, if you're in a very like highly competitive league or whatever, and that's absolutely fine. But for my personal experience, I wouldn't. Yeah,
I just think for league commissioners, one of the first rules you should take out is that rule. I just don't think it's very feels good for anyone.
No.
It just causes bad moments on the table. What I was going to say as well with the star players is like the reason with league, like it'll be like, if imagine watching the NFL and then teams could induce other players from other teams, and then a team wins because they brought like Tom Brady or something. It's not really their team win, is it? Yeah. It's a Tom Brady win. And
that was Super Bowl 2021, wasn't it, Trips?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
where the Bucks
was that,
Tom Brady, and then they went and won the Super Bowl with him.
Yeah.
that is exact. I mean, they paid for it, although Baker Mayfield's doing all right this year. But no, you bang on. Like, it is weird. It is weird. Stars are weird, and we should probably talk about them at a different time. But it's great to start looking at this. And I don't know whether it is because we've had this edition now for so long. We've the game is worn in now. Like, we've worn in the game, and it feels like the story might be just kind of coming back a bit. Like the thematic bit, not saying the thematic bit was ever gone or anything, but we kind of, that thematic bit, it's now seeping back in ways where you've got, I want to build my team up. Like, yes, I know the right thing to do is run Hackflem, but I don't want to run Hackflem. I want to run an Apo and a Wizard instead, because it means that I'm going to try and win with my Snotlings doing Snotling things, or my Halflings are going to just, like, actually, I want to score with my catchers because that's wicked, or I want to use my Chameleon Skink as a thrower, like, because that's just wicked. That's just something cool to do, and it builds up that story. But it was just an interesting one, because I think in League you are perfectly within your rights to lose a game or two because you were taking a punt at taking the extra blocks to get the SPP on your big guy, to trying to farm off and go for that extra quick pass so that your other thrower is within a random MVP of scoring that skill that you know is going to make your team run better and feel better for you.
Yeah. Well, how many times have we seen in League when you are, it's not going well, and you are already thinking about the next game, and you go, I'm not going to stand him up, because if I stand him up, you will smack him again with the mighty blow troll slayer thing that is killing him. So actually he is safer down. And yes, you could foul, but at that point it's like that's the lesser of two evils for that player.
Oh yeah, sort of getting halfway through. Yeah, this is quite an interesting one. Like getting halfway through a game, or maybe a little bit more than halfway through a game, and kind of looking at assessing the situation and going, I'm at quite a disadvantage here. Like the chances are I'm probably not gonna win, and then maybe like backing off and trying to make the most of it. I mean, I think for the longest time I basically went, well, I'm not going to win, so I'm just going to make this game really uncomfortable for the other person. Let's grind this one out. See how many orcs you can get through now, buddy. Maybe not the best way to play it. Maybe I should have done less blocking with my orc thrower.
Isn't that the guy who ended up with
I don't know.
-2 armor value?
Is that a... Yeah, he had loads of head injuries.
Loads of head injuries.
Too busy, like
nutting stuff.
Headbutting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's when the story is good. That's when the story gets real good.
Yeah.
No,
I was thinking about the ladder in BB3 again, and if it is, if the points are stacked the way that you said, then I guess ultimately, if you come in with a fresh team against an experienced team, and realistically, if you want to progress in the ladder, you need wins, you take the star and not the progression. Because unlike League, there's not much point if you're not going to get the win, because if you get a loss, then you've not really progressed anyway. You don't have the points. I don't know how it stacks up.
It's tough, but if you can take a loss to then secure 2 extra wins, because you've got sure hands on your beastman now, that's if all right, okay, I'm going to try this extra thing with my corn gore because I'm wanting to get sure hands, because sure hands is just going to help me win in the future. It's going to save me an extra turn on my offensive drives. That's the kind of balancing factor that I think it's really genuinely okay to consider. And for me, I just like to declare it at the beginning of a game so my opponent doesn't look at me weird. Like, what are you doing? Why are you playing keep away? It's like, because it's more important to me today to get pro on one of my vampires than it is to win this game, because winning the game is going to get me an extra 10k. Well, actually, winning doesn't get you any money, does it? You just don't lose dedicated fans.
No, scoring now. So there is often that whole, you try and score at the end, and you might end up losing 3-1 as opposed to it being 2-0. But actually, 3-1's better for both players.
Yeah, I definitely have pushed it for that before, more than the SPP.
That's
the extra touchdown.
That's scavening though, as it should be.
That's with Chaos Dwarf actually.
Oh wow.
1-0? Nah, 2-1. Need the extra 10k.
Need the extra cash. Yeah, I suppose dwarfs are an interesting one because you need that money, don't you? Yeah, interesting thoughts, guys. Listening, it'd be really cool to have you weigh in on this one, because suboptimal play in the short term for long-term games is something that League gives us as an extra layer of something to think about, which is just awesome. It's just really, really, really good. Right, any more on that one, guys, or should we wrap up for the night?
I'm happy to wrap up. It was a good chat.
All right, fantastic. Right, thank you very much, guys. We'll be back soon with more Bible content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.